During the last year where I haven't been uploading to this channel, I decided to actually do something with my life, and I decided to go on as many trips as possible outside the UK. I managed to visit 5 different countries along with 6 different theme parks all in the span of a year. Most of the parks I visited were some of Europe's largest, such as Efteling in the Netherlands, but others were much smaller, such as Emerald Park in Ireland. What really surprised me about every single park I visited, no matter their size, their theming level was so much higher than what's found in most of the UK. All these trips really made me question our standards over here in the UK, as why can most European theme parks achieve such a high level of theming, even small parks like Emerald Park, but most of our parks lack in their theming departments. And it seems that some of our largest theme parks over here in the UK, such as Thorpe Park, are now cutting back on their theming and instead focusing on the experience the ride offers itself. Although the UK has shown that it is still capable of making unique themed lands, just look at Paultons Park in recent years for example. In the past few years, Drayton Manor has also been investing in theming quite heavily, and the same could be even said for Creedy with its 2 new rides for 2026. All these parks mentioned investing into theming has really set them apart from most other parks in the UK, making them have their own charm and atmosphere not seen anywhere else. Although all these parks are tiny in comparison to the Merlin parks, Paultons and Creedy are family owned and Drayton Manor is owned by the Looping Group, which is also small compared to Merlin. So why are these smaller parks always able to invest into their theming alongside their new attraction, while the larger parks fail to do the same? There is multiple reasons causing this, and the first is project budgets. When building a new themed ride or land, there is always a budget set out, and usually these budgets don't really allow for a lot of room for unexpected costs. It's pretty common for the Merlin parks to have theming planned out quite well and everything is finalised before the construction starts. Unfortunately, it is pretty common for certain aspects of a project's costs to go up, and thus cutbacks have to be made to stay under budget. Theming is usually one of the departments to get these cuts, as it is one of the last things built for the project, and is not deemed as necessary. This has been seen for many years now, especially at Alton Towers, making it not a direct Merlin issue for once. For example, in 2001, during the construction of Air, the whole area would have had a huge amount of physical theming with waterfalls, rockwork and lakes. Unfortunately, pretty much all the physical theming was cut from the project and never added, and still hasn't been added, even with the ride having a massive theming overhaul in 2016, when the ride was rethemed to the now much loved Galactica. And this ride's story doesn't end there, as for the 2025 season it was planned to retheme Galactica to fit into the Phalanx and Nemesis story featured next door, but due to the Merlin cutbacks of 2025, this theming project was also cancelled. Galactica or Air, whatever you want to call it, isn't the only instance of this happening at Alton Towers, with in 2013 the Smiler was supposed to have a much different storyline and appearance. The coaster was planned to have a much darker theme, with a mental ward being the location, with a huge amount of physical theming in the queue line along with the ride station actually being themed instead of being a white box with some strobe lights. This would have really set the tone for the ride and would have achieved the high story driven theme and experience that Merlin states their parks provide to guests, instead of the ride looking the unfinished way it does today. Nemesis Reborn is the exception to this trend however. The ride received so much theming and even theming after the ride opened. Alongside Nemesis, the entire land of Forbidden Valley also got a retheme and refresh, turning Forbidden Valley into the most immersive themed land in the park by a long shot. While other themed lands such as X Sector and Dark Forest don't deliver on their story and immersion, with not a lot of actual theming being found in those lands, and they feel kind of abandoned. However, these lands feeling this way does make sense, seeing as it was not easy to get Forbidden Valley to the way it is now. Alton Towers had to go to Merlin multiple times begging for a larger budget for the theming for Nemesis Reborn and Forbidden Valley. It did take a while, but eventually Merlin did give in and give them a larger budget, and that's why the ride and the land look the way they do now. Unfortunately, even with this new storyline and amazing theming added, it's believed that the ride did underperform in raising attendance for the 2025 season, which can be easily explained by the general public not thinking that Nemesis Reborn was a brand new coaster like it was. They believed it was a repaint, as was seen on social media quite a bit. So it's very unlikely that in the future Merlin will be so generous with any other projects and extending their budgets, most likely leading to more theming cutbacks in the future. It seems the only Merlin park to not be hit too hard by budget constraints is Chessington. They've been investing so much into theming in recent years. Chessington has been partnering with quite a few IPs in recent years, such as the World of Jumanji for 2023, for 2026 they will be opening the world of Paw Patrol, and then for 2027 a rumoured Minecraft themed land will be added. The amount of money put into the theming for these lands isn't really Chessington's decision, it's more the IP holder's decision. It's very common for when a park approaches an IP to create a land based off of it in their parks. The IP holder usually has a lot of conditions that must be met to their standards, especially in presentation and immersion. With Chessington only investing in new IP lands now, they have to reach the level of quality wanted by the IP holder. This does mean a lot of money needs to be put into the land's theming to be able to seek the reward of the brand's recognition. This investment into these new lands does make them incredibly well themed and immersive, however it does take away from some of the soul of Chessington, with the original stories being shelved in favour of IPs. Even though the original stories and themes they used to invest in are still incredibly popular and some are very well missed. For example, Vampire is one of the most well-known coasters in the country to this day, and Professor Burp's Bubbleworks is still one of the most missed attractions in the entirety of the UK. The next thing I believe affects the UK theming standards is the general public's view on theming itself. The general public are the most important people to walk into a theme park as they almost make up all the footfall going into those parks, and therefore they make the parks the most money. Even though us enthusiasts want money to be heavily put towards themed experiences and immersing us, almost every single park now knows that as long as their new attraction is marketable with a thrilling feature or even a world's first, the theming can come as an afterthought instead of being incorporated into the ride's conception. This is because there's been a shift with the general public's view. They don't really care about the themed experience as much as they used to, and this has clearly been seen at Thorpe Park, especially in 2024 with the opening of Hyperia. In the past, every time Thorpe Park opened a new coaster, the storyline was very thought out and there was lots of physical theming surrounding the ride. However, for the largest coaster in the park in 2024, there was no money put into the physical theming around the area at all, and the storyline was very basic. Despite this, Hyperia is still the most popular ride in the park even though no money was put into the theming. This has unfortunately shown Merlin that the general public doesn't care all that much about theming, instead they care about if the ride experience is good. Along with this, the Hyperia merchandise is some of the most bought in the UK out of any theme park merch. This proves that even without putting money into the physical theming, people can still manage to connect to the ride's basic storyline enough to buy a large amount of merchandise from it. Another reason why the standards have been dropping so much recently is there's barely any competition here in the UK. Within Europe, parks like Efteling have to compete with others such as Phantasialand to provide a better experience for their guests, as the theming standards in those countries has been raised so high by these large parks. A significant amount of money gets poured into immersing the guests into a stories, land and theme in Europe, such as with Baron 1898 at Efteling, which is my favourite themed attraction in the world. Theming is seen as a necessity over there instead of something that can be cut back until it's almost completely gone, as everyone can buy the same ride, but not everyone's going to put the same amount of time and effort into theming that ride to something amazing. Over here in the UK, however, Merlin owns most of the large theme parks such as Alton Towers, Thorpe Park, Legoland and Chessington. There isn't much competition taking guests away from those parks, and that means all they need to invest in is new attractions that feature marketable elements or popular IPs. Holton's Park and Drayton Manor are the two only real competition in the country, but they don't really affect the visitor numbers of the Merlin parks as they all have their own audience. So because of this, along with Merlin owning some of the largest theme parks in the UK, they get to decide how high the theming standards should be. And even if parks like Paulson's Park keep their standards much higher, it doesn't take any attendance away from the Merlin parks, meaning there's no incentive to upgrade their theming. Overall, the UK does have good theming, and it has for a while now, but compared to the rest of Europe, our standards are dropping over here. Original stories are being dropped and forgotten in favour of less risky IPs, which already have an audience surrounding them. The general public will always visit theme parks, no matter what a new attraction is themed or stylized to. It's a big shame, but it doesn't mean that these attractions aren't enjoyable. It's just sad to know what they could have been if money wasn't so constrained. So that's just my personal views on why I think the UK standard of theming is so much lower than the rest of Europe's. Do you agree with my views or do you disagree with them? I would love to know in the comments below. I would love to see everyone's views on this subject. Along with that, what attraction do you wish could get a theming upgrade to fully achieve its potential in terms of immersion and storyline? Let me know in the comments below. Apart from that guys, thanks for watching. I've been Dispatch Jack and I'll see you later.